Hi guys, and welcome to another lyrical breakdown with me, your lady friend Bonnie. I am happy to be here as always. I hope you guys are happy as well. This week we are doing a pretty interesting song, and definitely one that, if you pay any attention to like rap beefs and like rap what's going on and stuff and interviews and things like that, then you probably definitely already know about this. But this week I am doing Joe Budden's Slaughtermouse as a lyrical breakdown. And yeah, this one is requested specifically from Holden. He was like, yeah, let's do this one. That'd be really cool. And so yeah, here I am doing it now. And I'm also not necessarily like the biggest fan of I'm not a huge fan of Joe Budden, but I don't like hate him or anything at all. I think that what he does is great. He's similar essentially to us. I guess he's doing the same sort of thing. Three guys sitting on a couch. I mean, we did that already. So essentially, yeah, like I said, it's a pretty like similar path, but which he talks about. But I mean, we're really not on the same path as him, I don't think. But not in terms of success. Maybe not. Who knows? It's in the cards, right? So yes, I am doing a lyrical breakdown this week of that song, and this comes off of the album All Love Lost, which came out September 17th, 2015. So this is not I'm not an expert. I'm not like a rap person necessarily, but I like it. I like going through all these songs and kind of like figuring out what they're trying to say. I love words. I love understanding why people are writing what they're saying and what they're doing and just everything. I think it's really interesting. So this is just my critique based off of everything I know and obviously what the internet has provided for me, should I have looked it up. So like I said, not an expert or anything, but hey, doing my best. And I won't be playing the full song for you guys, just letting you know, so, copyright and whatnot. So this is a pretty interesting song. This is basically like an open letter. If you don't already know about this song, this is basically an open letter from Joe Budden to Eminem, to Slim Shady, to Marshall Mathers. I mean, you're gonna hear what it's all about if you don't already know, but it's pretty interesting, and it's very personal to him, I think. It's obviously something that sticks with him. I watched like the interview, and I watched a couple of interviews with him, kind of going over like what the song means and what he was, about his beef with Eminem, and he kind of covers a lot about it. Which is very interesting as well. And this is basically his like stan record, he calls it. Like this is his like stalker fan record, basically. If you know the song. If you don't know the song, Stan by Eminem, go look it up. But if you do know the song Stan by Eminem, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This is like, his like personal letter to him. Anyways, I'm gonna stop babbling because we're gonna find out all about it. So yeah, let's get into this. It's really one verse. It's one very, very long verse. So yeah, let's check it out. Like I said, not playing the full song, but let's go.
Who the fuck was I to be too vocal in my doubt for some songs? Even I can be that dumb.
All right, so verse 1. Oh, I wanted to also mention before we like really get into it, the song is called Slaughtermouse, and I think it's just that he's wanting to like kill in a way, maybe his old self and what he thought that he could have been, or I think he also just wants to like kill, kind of like the way Eminem has in many of his songs. He's used language that has very obviously talked about like killing and different murderous type situations. So I think that he's just trying to be hard in that sense, in the same way that Eminem is hard. And Mouse because Joe used to be called, I believe, Old School Mouse. So yeah, just thought I'd cover that as well. So let's get into the song. Yeah, look, it was around 99, baby coming while I was at rock bottom. Ironic shit, I was listening to rock bottom. Pockets, rabbit ears, no paper, lot of cotton. Had some charges stemming from me and my squad robbing. Had to leave the hood. Shit staying, not an option. I bumped your shit forever. Felt we had a lot in common. A rapper expressing wit who spoke in depressive stints, all that introspectiveness, I couldn't measure what it did. So, we're kind of going back to 1999 when he was younger, and when life was very different for Joe Budden. He has a baby on the way, and he's at his lowest point in his life, basically. And at this time, he was listening to Eminem, and Eminem's latest album, and one of the songs off of it included a track called Rock Bottom, where Eminem was basically talking all about his distress and his lowest moment, essentially. That's why it's called rock bottom. And usually, like, when you hit rock bottom, like, there's only one way up, right? So you can't go any further down. So it really sucks. It's a hard place to be in, but you can only go up from here. So and that was similar to what Joe was going through. So there's nothing in his pockets, and I like the way that he used the term rabbit ears to describe them, like, as they're both kind of like, when you take out when you like pull out your pockets from your jeans, then they're just white floppy things. I like that image. I never heard of that before. And then it seems like the cops are also after him for some like robberies that he was involved with. And like, as he previously mentioned, he has a baby on the way. So when there's a child involved, and if you love the child and you want to try and support your kids, then you're willing to do pretty much anything to take care of your child, to do what you can. So yeah, he's obviously like making some bad moves. He's maybe not making the best moves, and he can't really stick around where he was currently living, and I believe at the time this was in New Jersey, because he'd already committed all these crimes and people were after him, and like maybe they were looking for him or whatever else. I did see something about with his name on it. Looked like a wanted kind of a sign. I don't know if that was true or not. And then since Eminem was making music and he was listening to his music, he felt that he had like a strong connection with Eminem's music and with Eminem himself, because they were both going through similar situations and had trouble in school and whatever else. And at this time, I believe he was starting to be like an aspiring rapper, and like maybe he was also using, or later on he did, he used his depression and his struggles in his songs and in his lyrics, which I think is always great. It's a good way to get it out. So listen, I'm writing to you now because we don't get to talk much, except for in the stew when we pass in through the halls and such. I wonder if you catch me, stare at you in awe much. And we be busy working, so I never share my thoughts much. Remember signing for blanks with an attitude? Well, maybe we'll get your star power and his magnitude. All I thought was it was about to be on, but I never guessed it was about to be wrong. I was about to be wrong, sorry. We encountered some things maybe we should have figured out all along. Who the fuck was I to be too vocal in my doubt for some songs? So he's writing, like I said, this letter to Eminem, and like this is the kind of the part where he's really starting to kind of talk to Eminem a little bit, just saying that like the two of them don't really get that many chances to like actually like sit down and like get to know each other and talk, but and then the only time that they have is like a few minutes between like recording sessions in like the studio. And I believe at this, like, what he's talking about in the beginning, I think they were both signed with Def Jam Records, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, like, Joe's like a huge fan of Eminem, and like I think he like doesn't almost notice that he stares at Eminem and just like awe, and just like watching him work and watching him record. I mean, how incredible must that be? It's like watching like the best person on earth like recording their art, and it's just like phenomenal. I couldn't only imagine, like I would be in awe. I feel like anybody would be in awe. My mom, everybody. we would all be in awe watching like Eminem like make his music. I think that would be really cool. And then so they're both working on their music and not really finding a time to like chat, like I said, about like personal details. And so he's got it wondering if Eminem even like remembers when like Joe was signed to like his record, or to his record label, and like not just Joe but like also his bandmates is what he's talking about, like. And then they were just like, I'm sure if you get signed by like the same record label that like Eminem's with, and like you just think like, wow, like we've made it. Like I think that's kind of what they had thought at the same time, because they just thought that like, you know, they could benefit off of Eminem's success. Yeah, and so, but it doesn't really quite play out like that, and you know, life is never as you plan it to be. And I think that he may have been vocal about like some of the, he may or may not have liked some of the songs that were being put out, and I think that he was obviously vocal about it. Anyways, that's it. So even I can't be that dumb to step over the threshold and be the guy who says no to so many records sold. Whole career, I never bit my tongue, I let it go. Too many times being the rebel ain't end in what's best for Joe. That second album came and added truth to the slander, but we learned what's good for the goose ain't good for the gander. I guess I'm asking for advice right now, experience and leadership to help suffice right now. So he's kind of concerned that what he was saying maybe wasn't like the wisest move, and that it wasn't quite as easy to make it to like the next level as he was hoping for. Like he thought everything would just kind of happen, like just because he'd signed to the same record label as Eminem. And you know, it's not, you still have to work, you don't just like get money like automatically, like, you know, you still have to make your music, and you have to like work hard, and you have to, you know, get word of mouth out, you know, you have to like, I guess that's what marketing's for, right? So yeah, you have to like get out there. So and I think obviously like being like rebellious in this case maybe wasn't the best like solution for him. And like I said, so like just because like Eminem's records were selling doesn't mean that theirs are automatically going to sell. And I think that, you know, Joe's kind of like realizing this and is like, wow, like what can we do to like do better? How can we do more? Like we, you know, they want the same success. You know, they want to be able to contribute to like the rap industry and like, you know, and make some great rap and like do what they do. And they just kind of, they don't really know where to go. They just are looking for some advice. And they're hoping that Eminem can like offer them some like wise words or like, you know, some advice, you know, after everything that he's gone through and how he made it and everything else. But, you know, I guess he doesn't. And, you know, Eminem can't be everybody's hero, I guess, in the end. Like, you know, that's why they say that you should never meet your heroes, because they may not be what you want. And that's basically what the song is about. Like, you know, you think someone's going to be some way because you've experienced your knowledge and like you feel such a connection, but it's not always like reciprocal, and it's not always the same. Like I said, you shouldn't that's a common thing, is that maybe you shouldn't meet your heroes because, you know, they're gonna like become mortals just like the rest of us. I guess I'm asking, how would you do it before I do something too stupid, before my group lose it, just to get with our views lucid? Every other day these blanks walk around a new exclusive. Should I be in the mix more? Maybe I'm too secluded. Do you think you'd be as famous now if you had put out My Name Is Now? The way the game is now, awful lyrics, shit is shameless now. Just tell me how you'd maneuver if you came in now. So Joe's obviously, like I said, asking for advice from Eminem, so that he doesn't make like a whole bunch of stupid mistakes and cost like him and his whole group, you know, their money, their success, their fame, whatever. And his bandmates have some different opinions of what they want to do, and Joe's kind of hesitating, and, you know, like I said, he's still hoping that like Eminem's gonna like share some experience and some knowledge with him. And so he's not really sure what to do, and he's just kind of like putting all his like bets and all his eggs in one basket, kind of hoping that Eminem's going to be there for him and like help him and guide him and everything else. So I mean, which was his mistake too. So as much as there's that, so and it's just not the same rap game as it was, you know, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. My gosh. You know, when Eminem first started, you know, in like the late 90s and like 2000 and everything, like when he really blew up. And And Joe's kind of like wondering, like, you know, things are different now. Like, do you think that he's kind of like asking Eminem, like, would you like, or how would you be like the same successful person as you were if like things were today? But I mean, you can't change history, right? Like, it is how it is. You know, but and Eminem's still at the top of his game, and like, would he be different if he started making music today, you know, compared to 20 years ago? And I mean, of course things would have been different. Things are never as they were. Change is a part of life. You know, and it can have its negative effects, and I think that's kind of saying like what Joe's saying is like, well, starting at this time in my career, like, it's not the same thing because you had it so easy because of blah 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 blah. Like, there's always going to be like, you know, there's always going to, if you're going to make it, you were going to make it. I think that's it. You know, it's not just like, well, the times were different or whatever. And yeah, some people just get lucky, but some people it's, you know, Eminem, it wasn't a case necessarily, maybe it was a case of luck, as well, but I don't think so. I think that his talent was going to, and his passion, anger or whatever other passion that he has, and just like his weirdness and his like, I don't know, his everything about him, I think is kind of what made him. So yeah, I think that he would have been just as successful if he had started now. But hey, who's to say? We can never tell. So it's just good thoughts. Everything is crisscrossed. Gotta be cool with Complex and Pitchfork. If I want to get my shit off, these simple-minded blanks won't think you fuck with us. If they don't see you popping bottles in the club with us, it's about fashion now, which I hate because I dress like shit and I'm just the best when I spit. But different times I was feeling like the odd man out, like I should leave. They'd be better with the odd man out. Like when I wasn't on that intro, I felt a little weird, but that was for the team, so I really didn't care, for real, for the team, how I happened to be. So he's like knowingly confused. He's not really sure what to do. Talks about Complex and Pitchfork, which I think were both magazines in the 90s. I mean, that's what I saw someone write about it on like Genius, so take their word for it, not mine. But I know Complex is also a recording label, I believe. So I think, anyways, I think it's basically what he's saying is that they have like different exposure, like, or had different exposure back in like the 90s than what they have now. And like, you know, he's kind of saying like everyone's online presence is different. Like, you have to like have that in order to be in like the forefront, and if you want to be successful and everything, which is kind of true across the board, no matter which field you're in. And he's basically saying he'll keep it on the low, like if they if him and Eminem become friends, kind of. I think that was kind of funny. And I think that he's kind of also asking for fashion advice a little bit, or just kind of comparing like to the times, like being like, oh, well, it's all about fashion now. But it's not just now. Like, it was about fashion back then too. So don't play that game. Like, Joe's gonna write a song about me now. No. But I think that, you know, everybody always cared about fashion. Like, I mean, people were wearing different things back then. I mean, the Spice Girls, they were fashion, and that was the same time. And Eminem was wearing his tracksuits. We all had those stupid velour tracksuits that everybody had. We all had them. I had them. You know, that was fashion back then. So yeah, you can't blame fashion. Just put on clothes. And I think that like Joe also has some social anxiety, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, you know, even though he's quite a powerful speaker and he's not scared to talk, but I think that he's just like an anxious, and I think he's a bit tightly wound, and I think he may have some other like issues. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not really sure like what his other issues are, but I think that he has like some personal stuff going on, which is fine. He does that. He does things I think that he doesn't necessarily feel comfortable with, but he does it because it's simpler just to kind of go along with them, just for like the majority. Like he said, I think he's a bit of like a sucker for, or maybe he was a sucker for peer pressure. So I think that he probably was like easily peer pressured, and he does want to like make everybody happy, and he wants to have that. So I don't know if it's necessarily like peer pressure, but he's definitely feeling like he's doing anything to like support his bandmates and his team and his crew, and so he's willing to make those sacrifices willingly, right? So let's keep going. So when bad meet evil, blank, who was happier than me? Think back the way that I was on that shit. You would have thought it was my album and I was on that shit. Like fuck rap. Happy to see a friendship get mended, cemented, and any frivolous tension get ended. Joel, you got my G. Weapon waste, you my OG. Cuz Nickel, you know how I look at you like it's blood. Here's the flowers before this end is covered in mud. We can disband right now and it's always going to be love. So Joe was super happy that Bad Meets Evil happened and that like Rasta 59 and Eminem started making music together, and he was so apparently just like so happy for them and so passionate, and he knew it was such a good thing, and he was hyping them up, and he just wanted to like, he was so happy about them working together and making their project, and he's like, people thought it was like that I was involved somehow, but like, nope, not even. Like he just had nothing but love and compassion and like, and everything for his friends. And he was just happy to see two people that he cares about getting along and, putting aside differences and making music and doing something that's going to be really incredible. So I think that's pretty cool. He obviously loves his friends and he wants the best for them, which is very nice. I think that's how most people should function. But so he's out there like shouting out his like crew and his band members from like Slaughtermouse, which I think that's very, very nice. Again, he's basically telling them that like no matter what happens, they can split up, but he's always going to love them. And like I said, he's very passionate, he's very loving. I think that he does want like only the best things for the people that he cares about in his life, and I think that's a great thing. So for a brief period, I tried to rhyme like y'all. I was high, maybe trying to prove that I'm like y'all, but I'm not. But I'm not. I suck at all this. Let's start this over. For a brief period, I tried to rhyme like y'all. I was high, maybe trying to prove that I'm like y'all, but I'm not. I suck at all that syllable shit. I'd rather not make the pen bleed to see the feeling you get. I'm being honest, we might never sell 1 million and shit. To me, it's more value in keeping it trill with my blanks. And to M, one of the illest ever on the mic. We're less different than we are alike. This ain't about star power. I ain't on the hype. Never mind skin color. I see beyond the white. So Joe admits that he kind of copied or maybe like drew inspiration from Eminem's style, and like, he was on high. He was on high. He was high, and I think he was on some drugs. At the time, I didn't check into which drugs that Joe was involved with. But I definitely read a few things where he was like into drugs and he had to go to like rehab and different things. So that's too bad. Which is pretty, again, similar to what Eminem had to go through. So he's basically he's realizing that what he hopes to be true may not actually be true, and that his style and like his flow and everything that he wants, and he wants to do what Eminem does, but he just can't. He's realizing now that it just doesn't work. And that he needs to stop pretending and trying to be Eminem and trying to sound like Eminem and emanate him when he has his own talents, and him and his crew, they have a different sound, and what they do sounds great, and it's their sound, and they may not make they may not make $1 million or $1 bajillion or whatever it is, but they're going to they can still be successful. They don't have to have the same level of success as Eminem, because Eminem is the best rapper, and they've gone through like a lot of similar things. Like I said, they've gone through violence, more particularly gun violence. I think they both had, several issues. They had issues with their women, with their kids, with their careers, with being bullied, with like, all sorts of different things, like trouble in school and their parents, and just like very similar lives. And Joe sees that, and he wants Eminem to know that, like, hey, like, I'm here with you. Like, everything that you've gone through, I'm going through. And like, yeah, you did it first, and you're older than me, and you have this experience, and you lived through like all of this crazy times. And he's just hoping that he just wants to be his friend, I think. He's a little bit pissed off, but he still wants to be his friend. And then Joe also sees beyond the skin color, which I think a lot of people credit to Eminem's success, as he's only successful because he's white. He's a white guy, and I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe it is. I'm sure it has something to do with it, but I mean, anyways, I don't know. I'm not gonna get into like the critique between like the black and the white rappers and like who's more successful and not. I think, I don't know. I'll leave it at that. I won't discuss. So yeah, but I think that, and if there is anybody who does not know, or if we have any blind fans who've never seen a picture of Joe Budden or Eminem or don't know who they are, Joe Budden is a black man and Eminem is a white man, in case you don't know. So anyways, my whole life I fought trauma like you. Had my ups and downs with my baby mama like you. I had my fair share of transgressions like you. Had a bad temper once and fought aggression like you. Did drugs, pop pills, fought depression like you. These are things you never pick up from our sessions in the stew. I beefed with Hove, 50, Game, and Woo. Got in on my own way a lot. I'm sure the same as you. The whole label think I'm crazy. I've been peeped it. I'm only mad I couldn't keep a better secret. So throughout Joe's life, he's gone through some hard, life-changing things, just like Eminem did. Like he's kind of saying, like he went through issues with the mother of his child, and just like Eminem, he went through, I feel like anybody who's ever listened to Eminem, like we all know that him and Kim had like some serious issues. Yeah, and Joe feels like they, both share being angry, and they did drugs to try and like deal with it, but ended up going through like a period of depression. And obviously there's a reason why you're doing all these drugs, you're popping pills and you're doing whatever, just to kind of kill that anger and depression and like those feelings inside of you. So I think that you're just trying, you can do that. I'm not going to say what you can and can't do. You do that. But I think that it does get to a point where you can't keep doing that anymore, and you're going to have to address those feelings, and you're going to have to feel those feelings again. But yeah. So yeah, he's just kind of saying like, I was going through all that same stuff, but like Joe's kind of sad that he never got a chance because, Eminem and him were just like passing through the studio and weren't really like getting time to like chit chat and getting to know with him. And it's just business. And I'm sure Eminem has like a super busy schedule and, but like, and I think that he knew, like the thing is that I think that Joe's upset because Joe feels or felt or whatever, he feels that, Eminem was in his shoes. Like he was in the same boat as him, and he started really from the bottom and climbed his way up to be like the most successful. And he's hoping that like, this like gigantic star, will take some time, because he went through all that, and he understands the struggle of like the little people, and, and he expects him to, that to help out. But like Eminem can't help everybody, and maybe he didn't get that much help from a lot of people, and I think maybe that's why he doesn't necessarily like dish out help so easily. And and it's his prerogative to talk to whoever he wants to, and he never claimed he never claimed, to be such a nice guy, and that he wants to like chit chat with everyone. And, he wrote a song where he basically talked about like, leave me the fuck alone. Like I'm not your friend. I'm not going to like just leave me alone. Like I think that he's just annoyed that like everybody's expecting something from him now when he had nothing, and nobody was helping him out. I think he was a little bit resentful, and like I don't know where he's at now, and if he does help people, and he helps, and I'm sure he does, he helps little rappers, but yeah, I mean, whatever. I think they're just both divas, Joe and Eminem. I think that they're both just divas. And he kind of talks about like the way that he's like, well, I had beefs with Jay-Z and like the Game and like the Wu-Tang Clan. He's like, I had to deal with shit too. And like, so he's obviously like upset and like trying to prove that to like Eminem that he's just as like troublesome or something. Like I'm not really sure what it is that he's trying to prove, but he's just like, well, I've got all these issues too, and I did pills, and I did this and I did that, and we're basically brothers. Like I think that he's like, okay, maybe, like I said, Joe, don't make a song about me. But like I think that he's just a little bit upset and a little bit petty that Eminem wasn't like taking his hand and being like, come, like this is how we're gonna like make you a star and everything, and whatever. But like I said, they're both divas, and so they're both like think that they're like the best, and well, I don't know if they both think that. I can't tell you what they think, but that's what I think. And then he kind of says like, everybody thinks that I'm working with is like, thinks that like they're crazy, that, that he's out of his mind, that Joe's, doing like stupid things and he's acting irrationally and he's getting angry. And I think that he also said at the end there that he maybe had spilt some secrets that maybe he now regrets having spilt. And that probably got him in some pretty deep trouble. So let's check out the last little bit. Well, not the last little bit. It's not quite over yet. Still, when I hear your voice, my head goes wrong. Takes me back to that little boy with my headphones on. And the way you saved my life back then is how I'm saving them. Plaques and charted tracks won't take me away from them, so I hope you understand. Fuck the record deal. You inspired me as a man. I'll cut it short before I start feeling like a stan. House gang for life. Word to the pig on Royce's hand. So Joe is still affected powerfully when he listens to Eminem's music because it reminds him a lot of his youth. And I think that anybody that like grew up, I mean, I can speak for it. Like I grew up listening to like Eminem, like when he was first coming out. Like my friend made a cassette. She copied the cassette for me, and I think I've talked about it on another podcast. And like my friend, like one of my best friends was like obsessed with like Eminem when we were like 12, 13 or whatever. And I remember we used to just like watch like Purple Pills all the time, like the music video, and like we both thought he was so hot, and which I guess also helped contributed to his to his success. All these little white girls who thought he was hot when we were 12 and stuff, like we were buying his stuff because we were like, this boy, he's a bad boy. I like him. Like I think it was like that. So there you go. I guess white people did make him more successful. Sorry. Also the fact that he was kind of cute. Never hurt anybody. So I think he also like remembers the time of like how like Slim Shady's like music was like helping him out get through all these like difficult times, and knowing that he went through all these same things as him, and Joe obviously felt such a strong connection towards Eminem, and and he knows him, and he feels like he knows every little detail about him, and he's read everything, and he's listened to all of his music, and but I think that's it. I think that's when you start forgetting the fact that like you know all about this and you know everything that there is to know about somebody, but essentially when they look at you, you're a stranger. Like they don't know anything about you. And I think that that's kind of like, I think that's kind of crazy, you know, it's like you just expect to just walk in and just be like best friends with them, and they're like, what's your name? Like, no. I'm like, and it's hard. I think it's hard to, and you kind of get taken like aback, like from that. Like it's not always like the most clear, but anyways, yeah, and I think that, like, you know, Eminem also meets a lot of people. Like, I'm sure that he tries. I'm sure he tries to, like, motivate and inspire people and, you know, help them out in some ways, but yeah, he can't do it for everybody. And then he goes, he's telling Eminem that the way that he, you know, how he helped Joe so much, you know, and he's just like invested in doing the same thing for the youth. And I think that that's great. That's fantastic. You know, to the youth that are listening to like his music now, or whatever. And that, you know, even if he's not making like, you know, he's not charting, he's not at the very, very top, he's not being like as successful as Eminem, but he's still connecting with people and making differences in their life. And that's essentially like, that's the best thing an artist can do, is to connect with them in some sort of way that makes their life change and that inspires them and sticks with them and like resonates with them. And I think that's why there's different types of artists and different types of art and different types of everything, because everybody is looking for something that's going to connect with them. And I think that there are certain things that will connect emotions. That always works. So yeah, I think that's anyways, that's a bit of a ramble, but I think that's a really important thing for an artist to do, to take the time to really connect and not just make pop tracks that are going to be successful just to be successful, but to actually do something more meaningful with your music. Yeah, and I think that's cool. I think that's, you know, that's going to make Joe somebody's hero, and that's just the way that Eminem became Joe's hero. Like it's the same thing, and so he just wants to have the same thing. And then at the end he's kind of just like, I'll stop like gushing over you. And he's kind of like realizing that he's like a bit of a stan, like I said, stalker fan, and then like kind of shouts out like some of his friends, and talks about like Royce's like pig tattoo, I believe, that's on his hand. Yeah, and then the very, very end here, success will never disable me, no record label will ever label me, my morals ain't for sale, can't under the table me, I'll ride it out even when everything ain't savory, my brothers love, they won't enable me, and they won't kill me, they won't Cain and Abel me, it's how I feel at the moment. So that's kind of the end of the song. It is the end of the song. And it's never going to basically be an argument that Joe is successful. I don't think that's ever going to, you know, he is successful. And, you know, nobody's ever going to tell him he's saying that nobody's going to ever tell me like how to make my music and like what to do and like what I should sing about. And, you know, again, he's also a bit of a diva, but I think that also is, you have to stand your ground and be like, no, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to make. This is what I want to give to the world. And you know, again, his prerogative, he can do that. And he can't be bought, and, you know, he may be hard-headed, but, you know, if what he's doing is the right thing in his mind, then that's the right thing. And yeah, so he doesn't really care as long as he does what feels good in his soul. Gotta love it. In the end, he just is like, oh, well, gotta be me. And again, so I'm not super familiar with like my biblical quotes. Cain and Abel, not so sure. I had to look this up. But I think that basically like I think they were, anyways, I'm really not sure who Cain and Abel are. I'm sure anybody who's like read the Bible once is like, you don't know who Cain and Abel are. I don't know why you would talk like that, but hey, that's me. But anyways, I think that they're just about like, maybe they had a fight. They're brothers. I'm gonna say they're brothers. And yeah, anyways, in the end, Joe only feels love for Eminem, and he knows that, and he hopes that Eminem knows that this is kind of a song where he bursts his own bubble. He burst the bubble of Eminem being this great guy who's going to help me out, and I'm going to like, you know, ride off of like his success, and I'm going to be great, and I'm going to have everything just like Eminem because he signed me, you know, we're on the same like record label, and we're doing great, and we're in the same studio, and we're like seeing each other. And it doesn't mean that, you know, like I said, like, or what, like he said, what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander. So it's not always like what one does is going to like affect the other person. Like, you are your own person. You are in control of your own destiny. You do you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then at the end, he just kind of says that, this is how he was feeling basically at the time. And, he was obviously emotional and he was upset or whatever. And I think that he just wanted to like get it out, and then that's it. It just kind of, it ends and it fades away. And this is obviously something that he's thought a lot about. And, yeah, I think this is something that he probably still thinks about. And but I think it's out of him now. He realizes that he needs to move on. Like, he still loves Eminem. He still has passion for him, and still thinks that his music is like the best because it's great. And yeah, he's just kind of like, you could have helped me out, but I mean, really, only you can help yourself. So that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So I would like to thank our patrons on Patreon, Mr. Linda Williams, Super Old School 1994, Carl J, Chris Prado, and Ismail Gadamsi. So thank you guys so much. We also have a Discord going on. You can follow me on Twitter. I think we're all over the place. If you guys have any song suggestions that you want to see me break down, definitely leave those in the comments down below. I will be doing one of those coming up soon. And yeah, if you like this video, like it, subscribe. We've got lots more coming your way. And yeah, that's it. See you next week. Bye, guys.